What up? It's your boy, the Incredible Man, and yes, I am back at it again. And this is Black Clover episode 122, discussion/review, man. And I just gotta say, I'm loving it, man. Right and fresh off the heels of the Elven arc, this next arc that we're diving into is gonna be fantastic. And we're just now starting it, and I'm loving every moment that's transpiring right now, man. So let's get right into it, man. This episode picked up right after last week's episode with Asta and Mari being and Nero kind of being, well, not so much as captured, but kind of being dragged into the parliament by Dominato and the royals and everybody else in the parliament hall. Now, we know that they're trying to make Asta take the blame, and they use Mari as the scapegoat to set up Asta. So they're trying to take and put all of the blame on Asta for the Akuma attacking the kingdom. And Nero kind of wants to take the blame because, you know, she's from the past and she's kind of willing to let Asta, if they let Asta go, she'll take all of the blame. But we all know that's not the right thing to do. Now, this episode, we also see a different side of Dominato as well. And what I really wanted to get out there before I talk about everything else, I don't blame Dominato. I really don't. I may be in that, like, one of that miniature group that kind of understand where he's coming from, but I don't blame him. I feel like he has a job to do, and he's looking out for the best, what's best for the kingdom. And as of right now, they don't have anybody to blame, and he was looking for a reason and for someone to blame, because we can't have this happening in whatever is upcoming, because there's going to be some major stuff upcoming. You can tell that's what it's leading up to, and we have to have a resolution to all of this. We can't just say, oh, well, the elves done it and they possess some of our magic knights, and okay, they defeated the Akuma and now it's over. They have to have somebody take the blame, and Dominato is playing the villain because, you know, he's part of the Kira family, which is like the king's family, but he's also head of the parliament or whatever. So he has to play the bad guy, and it's not a bad thing because he's not a bad guy, but he has a job to do, and he knows that this really isn't satisfying to the royals and all of the others in power within inside the Clover Kingdom. So he has to have someone take the fall. In this episode, we also see what led up to them, how they grabbed Mari from the church, and we see everyone from the Hage or Hodge village church also finding out that Asta's in the paper and everything. So we see a lot of stuff from a different perspective as well this episode. But I understand where Dominato's coming from, and I get it. But at the same time, you know, it's Asta and Mari. We can't have these two people take the blame for this. They're not at fault. But I understand where Dominato's coming from, and he has a job to do. But this episode, we also saw a lot of different things as well. Let's be real. We all love that moment, boy. Whew! When the Black Bull showed up like a boss, man, they bust in with the Raging Bull, and everybody had their moments and their comments about special things to say about Asta and how he touched their lives and how he impacted them, and like why they were there for him and helping him and taking up for him. And then we even have Ghost. You're like, oh yeah, well, you're cool, you're fine, and I thank you for saving Mari, but get your hands off her. So it was nice to have all of that. And let's be real, the Black Bulls go hard, and they show up every single time. This is why we love the Black Bulls. Yeah, we're seeing the whole story from Asta's perspective, and we're revolving around the Black Bulls, and that's the Magic Knight squad that we've pretty much always stayed in contact with. But I love the fact that they showed up like nobody's business this episode, and they done it in some episodes in the past with the Elven arc. But I love the way that they showed up this time. They bust in there, and everybody is taking a stand and making it known that we trust Asta. There's nothing else to do. I mean, we trust Asta. I mean, I don't know. I can't speak for you guys, and I don't know why you don't, because he said without him, we wouldn't have been able to save the kingdom. But we trust Asta completely. There's no doubts about it. We will never think he will betray us. So I love that they showed up like that, man. But that's what I'm saying. I don't blame Dominato. He has a job to do, and it's understandable that he has a job to do because he wants the best for the kingdom, and he feel like letting someone take the blame for what happened would be the best route to take. But, you know, let's not blame Asta. So then we have the Black Bulls showing up, giving their thoughts about Asta and everything, and telling that to Dominato and the Parliament and the royalty and everything. And one moment that stood out to me that was absolutely fantastic was we have Seki up there with the king, and he is, when Dominato set up the whole thing, it was like, well, we're gonna have Asta take the blame, and we're gonna execute him. And then all the people was like, execute him right now, and we can't have this devil roaming around any longer and everything. And in that moment and everything, we have Seki up there, and he was like, he's shocked that they want to execute Asta. And as much as he hates Asta, he doesn't want him executed. And then at the end of this episode, when everything is all said and done and Asta's saved, Seki steps up. Well, he doesn't step up, but he says, like right before the king leaves, well, I'm glad that Asta's not going to be executed. That was one of the most beautiful moments to me, and I loved it. Because someone in Seki's position and how he feels towards Asta, he doesn't want him dead. He doesn't want him executed because he knows Asta's strong. He knows Asta cares for the Clover Kingdom and everything. So he understands Asta. And at that moment, he was like, well, I'm glad he's not executed. And I loved it. That was one of the best moments in this episode for me. Then we also have Dominato telling him that, you know, Asta could run if he wanted to. That could be his thing. He could be a fugitive for the rest of his life. But that would also make all the people that sided with him in the people of Hodge Village, that raised him, in the crosshairs and on the hook for his crimes. So Asta decided not to run. But then we also have another wonderful moment is when Yami decides to step up, and after Dominato shrunk everybody's magic in the Black Bulls, Asta reverted it back to normal with his powers, of course, because he can cancel it out. And in that moment, Yami moved like the speed of light and was finna attack Dominato. I was like, no, 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 no. But at that time, Fuegolan and Nozel showed up with a seal from Julius saying that, you know, he's going to have the Black Bulls investigate devils so they will find out what's going on and kind of give Asta a little leeway to figure out some stuff to do and still be able to be a Magic Knight and have his freedom at the same time. And boy, oh boy. Then we have Fuegolan and Nozel showing up, and they're talking to Yami. It was like, oh, you're always reckless, foreigner. But we also know that all of the Magic Knight captains, Yami may be a foreigner, but they all have the utmost respect for Yami, and they know that his strength is real, and it's wonderful to see that aspect, because the royals all feel some type of way about peasants, and they all feel some type of way about the Black Bulls. But all of the Magic Knight captains and higher ups in royalty all have respect for Yami, even though he's a foreigner and a captain of, you know, the most reckless squad. And I love that fact. We also got to see Yami tell Nero that, you know, no matter what happens, you're a member of our squad. There's so much going on in this episode. It wasn't like a super jam-packed episode, but it was just so much fulfillment for all these characters that we've invested in for so long. 122 episodes. And you know, we just now seeing Nero in her human form, but we've invested in these characters so much, all of these characters, and for them to have such wonderful character development towards Asta, towards Yami, and all of them, and Nero, is such a wonderful thing. Then we also have Fuegolan and Nozel also telling that, you know, they trust Asta complicitly. So I love it. I love that, man. I love that it happened like that. And they also said that, you know, well, hey, this gives Asta a little leeway to work. And they gave him a bracelet, and they was like, well, this is in case we'll always know where you're at, in case, you know, you try to run away or flee. And Asta was like, I would never flee. And we know that, and Nozel and Fuegolan knows that as well, but they also stated that, well, in times like this, it's best to put up a front. And for all of these royals that don't know you and that doesn't know your compassion, because one thing that stood out to me when members of the Black Bulls showed up and were spouting what they admired and why they're there to rescue Asta was Zora, when he said that you know, he said something in particular like, well, you know, I don't really care about the whole Magic Knight squad thing or whatever, but Asta's the closest thing to what a real Magic Knight should be. Come on, man, tell me that ain't great. And then that's how this episode ended. We see Asta's being set free, and then we see Dominato having a nice conversation with Julius, and that's where it was solidified for me where he's not a bad guy. He's just he's trying to do what he thinks is best for the kingdom, and he told Julius that you know, whether this goes bad or not, the scales will tip. We'll see whose favor the scales will tip in, because he said at the end of the day, if this goes bad, he will judge Asta and Julius. So he was saying for his sake, he hopes that everything goes well. And he was glad to see Julius a lot. There's so much greatness in Black Clover, and a lot of people can't get past all of the, maybe some of the awkwardness that's going on and some of the stuff that, like, they're not willing to put in the time, because, yeah, at the very beginning, it didn't really get flushed out, but now it is doing some great things, and you can't ignore that fact, man. But this is your boy, The Incredible. Don't forget to smash the like button so you can't smash it into more. Comment down below, and I'll be sure to respond to each and every one of them, and subscribe, but only if you really want to, man. Remember that anime matters, anime is greatness, and anime is life, man. And the Black Bulls always show up, man. Peace out.